Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another video. Haven't been making too many videos lately because the market just continues to sell off, as you can see from the screen. Um, Honestly, it's just at this point, it's going to continue to downtrend, in my opinion, for a little bit longer, and it's just tough to find stocks to buy. Unless you're playing options on and put. If you're doing put options, then I could see it, but even that's kind of risky. So I've just been sitting on the sidelines, kind of waiting for the market to find a bottom, so to speak. Watching the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs just is more appealing to me than losing money by throwing it in the market at this point. But anyway, just wanted to go through some things really quickly on what I'm seeing, trends that could help us all in our stock picking, especially if you're a long-term holder or you have like a 5-year outlook. This is a perfect time to start buying and accumulating shares of companies that you believe in. So I have been doing some of that, but like I said, I don't see a big rush because it looks like it's going to continue falling. But anyway, let's go through these real quick. So first, we're going to talk about the things that I'm seeing in the market and the trends, and then I'll look at some individual stocks that I'm watching and purchasing. So number one, obviously, the hot topic is inflation. The Fed is not stepping in as much as people would like, and I think that inflation is going to continue to rise, which means that we're going to see a surge in gas prices, food prices, living expenses, basically. That's all going to continue in my mind. I don't see this ending anytime soon, perhaps next year, but as you can see, like, these are some of the headlines that we're seeing, right? The UK's inflation hits a 40-year high. Government's on the defensive. Powell says the Fed will not hesitate to keep raising rates until inflation comes down. So that means that the cost of borrowing is going up and up, which means mortgage rates are going up. So that's going to affect the real estate market soon. The real estate market moves slower than the stock market and the regular economy. So we haven't been able to see a big change in the real estate market yet. And it has been so red hot recently, for the last couple years since COVID. But I think that's going to start slowing down too in the back half of this year and next year. Mortgage rates obviously go up, and that's part of the reason why it's going to slow down. Lending and giving money out is going to be more expensive, so that means you're going to have more people that are not able to lend money and put it into the market. So I just think that everything is kind of slow down for this year. And we had these big swings, right? So during COVID, people stayed at home and the market was getting pumped up with money, and then now people started to go back to work, and now the prices are going up, so it's kind of balancing itself, right? The market rose, and now it's leveling off and going down. But so inflation is one thing that I'm watching. Something that hasn't really been talked about is the food situation in the world. So I couldn't really find too many great examples of what I'm trying to say here. I did see a documentary about it, but I'm not going to link a whole YouTube video. But basically, it was saying that a lot of countries don't have enough food in reserve. So smaller countries like India, Chile, even some of the European countries, there's a food shortage coming, basically. And this article says that it's gotten slightly better, but in general, most countries don't have enough food for their people. And with the prices rising and interest rates and lending money getting more expensive, they don't have the money to borrow from other countries in order to buy food for their people. So this is another whole mess that really hasn't been talked about, but this is another terrible sign that we're going to have to deal with. Just some quick stats. The U.S. has about 5 months worth of food reserves. So in other words, if we aren't able to import any more food for the country, then we're talking about like grain and wheat and that kind of like raw materials that all got screwed up from the Russia and Ukraine situation. We have 5 months in storage that we could use to feed the country. Now that's not much, but it's more than most countries. Like I said, India and some European countries, they have nothing. Africa countries, they have nothing. Now, what's very interesting is there is one country that does have a good storage, and it's 1.5 years worth of food in storage. And they'll give you 2 seconds to take a guess. Correct. It's China. China actually has 1.5 years of foods in storage for their people. So do with that information as you will. But anyway, so the food shortage, that's another thing. We touched on a little bit. Real estate is another area of concern in my mind. The housing market resembles 2007, which if anyone remembers or was in the market at that time, 2008, that's not a good thing. So I think that on the one hand, I think the market's slowing, but at the same time, I've also heard that there isn't enough houses for people or enough houses for the population in the United States. And, people are growing up, they're looking for houses, they're at that age. So that might balance it out a little bit, but this is just another thing that we're watching. So that's that. These are kind of the hot topics that I'm watching here, just to keep your eyes on. But let's go back to individual stocks, right? So let's look at the market here. SPY continues to fall. Looked like we were pushing up and things were starting to get better, and then it just dropped again. Right now it's down 3.5% on the day, and it's just not looking great. The VIX is spiking again, so we're getting away from our $20 mark here. Under 20, the VIX is stable, and that's kind of where you like to see it. Right now we're spiking again. We're at 30. We've seen highs, 35, so we're working our way back up there. We had a short drop here if you're looking at the MACD, but we're curling back up. So what are some of the things that I'm looking at? I think big tech is a good play right now, especially if you're long-term. Apple, as an example, right? We're down here. We haven't seen prices like this since October. So we pumped up a little bit. Now we're all the way down. Like I said, it could continue to move down. So there's no need to try to rush to get in, but just a company to watch. Along the same vein is Amazon. So Amazon has just had a quick fall. Looks like we might pump up a little bit if you're looking at the MACD, but overall, I think Amazon looks good. If you're looking at it on a 5-year window, you can see the big drop-off, and we haven't seen prices like this since April of 2020. So that's kind of crazy to me, right? In my mind, that's this is a good value. If you think that the company's in the same place that it was back in April 13th of 2020, then maybe it's not a good idea. But I personally think they've done a lot better since then. So that's another one that I'm looking at. And the last one of these big techs is Tesla. Tesla's come down. This is a 5-year chart. But if we want to switch back to the 1-year chart, they're looking pretty good too. I believe in the company long term. It's a little speculative, but I think that they have a lot to offer. So Tesla's one that I'm looking at. Then if you want to look at a different whole market, right? Let's look at the Bitcoin market. So there was recently a Terra/Luna, whichever you go by, incident, and it was not pegged to the dollar, or it was the peg to the dollar was broken, and it dropped tremendously, 90% or whatever it was. So people lost a lot of faith in their Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. And also you got to remember too that this is just a risk-off market, right? I mean, a lot of the stocks that were considered risky and high-flying during the 2020, 2021 era are kind of at 52-week low after 52-week low. So I think crypto is kind of taking a breath here too. So now would be a good time to start accumulating Bitcoin if you believe in it, or other cryptos. So now along with that, let's say you don't want to buy the crypto directly. There are a couple plays in the market, stock-wise, that I like. So Mara is one of them. Mara is a Bitcoin miner, and as you can see, they've been devastated lately, right? Back when Bitcoin was hot, it was at $78. Now we're at $10. So if you believe in crypto, I think Mara would be a good company. In the same vein, Coinbase, $358 was their high. Now we're at $64, and it looks like it could continue lower. So those are ones that I'm watching. Now the newest thing is, if we look, there is a huge drop in Walmart based on their earnings. It dropped yesterday, right? And then it dropped again. So again today. So where were we? We're at 148, and now we're looking at 123. It's down 6% on the day. It was dropping because basically you could listen to the earnings call for yourself and you could read more about it, but they have a huge inventory and the inventory wasn't moving. So I don't see this as a short-term swing trade. I think this is a good long-term play. But if you don't have a stake in Walmart, now would be possibly a good time to get in, being that it is so low. I would watch it for another couple days and see what it does towards the end of the week and see if it finds a bottom and starts moving upward, because you end up buying now and then it could drop further. But let's look at some other stocks that are being affected by that line of thinking, right? So one that I see and I have a stake in and I will continue to purchase now that there's a big drop in a dollar cost average is Dollar General. And people are kind of thinking the same thing is going to happen to Dollar General, right? So that's a huge drop off. And then another one, a very similar company, would be Target, ticker symbol TGT. They've fallen too. I don't have a stake in Target as of now, but I think it might be a great time to open a position, whether that be a small one or a large one. I think this is a good time for Target. Maybe give it a couple days if you really want, but Target's one that I'm looking at. And those are kind of what my thoughts are, guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below any stocks that I missed or ones that you're looking at, and we will see what happens in the rest of this week. All right, thanks, guys.